Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into a story that's practically legendary? We're talking David and Goliath. Classic underdog tale, the giant, that epic showdown. But what if I told you there's more to this story? Way more than meets the eye.
Absolutely. What we tend to remember, that face-off between David and Goliath, it's really just a snapshot, one little piece of a much bigger story.
Mhm.
And it's a story packed with intrigue, political maneuvering, and honestly, some really human emotions.
And that's what we're going to uncover today, going deeper than the familiar, exploring the stories, twists and turns, the details they leave out of like, the highlight reel, and we're going right to the source, chapters 16 through 18 of the book of 1 Samuel.
Think of it this way. It's not just reading the story, we're living it. Walking through ancient Israel, feeling the tension, understanding the politics, meeting the players in this drama.
And believe me, there is drama. We've got a kingdom in crisis. We've got a king battling his own issues, and there's this young shepherd who ends up changing history. But it all starts with the Israelites. Expert, can you set the scene for us? What's going on as this story begins?
Imagine a whole nation on edge. The Israelites are at war with the Philistines, a powerful enemy, aggressive. Both sides are fighting for the same land, and the tension, you can just feel it. It's uncertainty, fear, and the Israelites, they need a leader, someone to guide them through this.
And that leader, at least at the beginning, is King Saul, although it doesn't sound like his time as king was easy.
Understatement. See, Saul was handpicked by God, anointed as king. He had divine backing, started strong, but as time passed, doubt crept in, fear, even what some might call mental illness. It clouded his judgment, his leadership.
Wow. I mean, can you imagine what it was like for the Israelites? Seeing their king, chosen by God, struggling like that? It's a good reminder that even those in power, they're human, dealing with the same stuff we all do.
Exactly. And that vulnerability, it creates an opening, a need for someone else to step into the light. That's where David comes in, but not in any way you'd expect.
Yeah, talk about an unexpected hero. This is where things take a turn. Because God doesn't choose who everyone thinks. Not the strongest, the oldest, the most experienced warrior. No, it's David, youngest son of Jesse, a shepherd. What do you make of that? What's that say about how God views leadership?
It's really something, isn't it? Samuel, he's the prophet, searching for this new leader, goes to Jesse, and he meets Jesse's sons one after the other. But every time God's like, nope, not him. And then they finally call for David, who's out with the sheep. He seems so insignificant, the least likely. But God's looking beyond what's on the surface. He sees something special in David, that connection, a heart after God's own.
Almost like a test, right? Like a challenge to how we humans judge by appearance.
Exactly.
Right.
Makes you think about what we look for in leaders today.
Yeah.
Do we overvalue charisma, experience? What about character, integrity? David's selection, it makes us rethink our own ideas of what true leadership actually is.
And even before Goliath, David already showed incredible courage, resilience just in his daily life.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a time when lions and bears are roaming around, a real threat. And 1 Samuel tells us David had already gone up against these animals, protecting his sheep with his bare hands.
That's not something you just casually mention. Oh yeah, I wrestle bears Tuesdays, you know how it is. But when David tells King Saul about this, it's not bragging, it's matter of fact, it's just who he is, deeply courageous, trusting in God's protection.
Yeah, it's not arrogance at all. It's just this complete faith that's such a part of David, even before Goliath, that belief that God, who was with him before, will be with him in the battles to come.
Which brings us to, I guess, the most famous part, that face-off with Goliath. I mean, just try to picture those Israelite soldiers watching this giant come onto the battlefield day after day, yelling insults, threats.
The text really drives home the psychological aspect of this. It's more than just Goliath's size, although that's terrifying enough. It's the armor, how he carries himself, that total audacity.
Give us a visual. What did this fearsome warrior actually look like?
Okay, picture this. Goliath, over 9 feet tall, covered head to toe in bronze armor. His spear's like something you'd use for weaving, huge. Just the iron tip of it weighs over 15 pounds. He's a walking weapon meant to scare the Israelites, make them lose heart.
And it's working, right? No one dares to fight him, well, except for David or Shepherd. But even as David steps up, he makes a decision that I think says it all about who he is.
You mean when Saul offers him his armor? Totally natural instinct to give David the best protection possible.
Right, like any king trying to help their champion.
Yeah. But David realizes Saul's armor, it's made for a seasoned soldier. Doesn't fit him, it'll slow him down. David's strength is in his agility, how fast he is, and using the tools he knows best.
So he goes with his sling, something he's mastered protecting his flock. But it takes such precision, such skill, and I imagine a lot of trust in your own ability.
And faith. Let's not forget those 5 smooth stones. He just picks them up from a stream like it's nothing, as if to say, these simple things, with God's help, are all I need.
Man, that contrast is powerful. This young shepherd with his everyday tools up against a giant in all that armor really makes you think. True strength isn't what's on the outside. It's about something deeper. That conviction, that belief in something bigger than yourself.
And that brings us to that moment, but one everyone knows. David, with a sling, a stone, brings down Goliath. It's the impossible made real, and the Israelites, they go wild.
This should be the ultimate win for Saul, right? National unity, total victory. But, and here's where the story gets interesting, that's not how it goes.
No, because inside Saul, a different feeling is growing. Jealousy. And it just eats at him, poisons him, and in the end, it's his downfall.
Such a stark reminder, that even when we win, we're not immune to those darker parts of ourselves. Jealousy, envy, that fear of being replaced, it can get to anyone, even a king.
It is fascinating to watch how this jealousy changes what Saul does. He doesn't trust David, sees every good thing David does as a threat, starts trying to put David in dangerous situations, hoping the Philistines will succeed or he hasn't get rid of David for good.
And then there's that detail about David, playing his harp to calm Saul's mind. Such a wild dynamic. This hero using music to soothe the very king who's plotting against him.
Shows you how aware David is, right? He's more than just a fighter. He's clever. He sees how the power is shifting.
He's playing a dangerous game, for sure, using his intelligence, his faith, even his musical talent just to survive.
It really is a balancing act, trying to stay loyal to his king, to his nation. But at the same time, Saul's getting more unpredictable, his plans more dangerous.
And then it gets even more complicated when Saul's daughter, Michal, comes into the picture. Tell me this isn't about to become some kind of love triangle.
Oh, there's definitely a love story here. But not what you'd think. See, on the surface, Saul's offering Michal to David in marriage. A reward for bravery. Makes it seem like David's being welcomed into the family.
Right, but we've learned by now, don't trust first impressions. So what's Saul really up to?
He sees this marriage as a way to control David, tie him closer, and most importantly, use him. Don't forget, Saul's convinced that David's popularity is a direct threat. So he sends David on these missions, impossible ones, hoping, I think, that the Philistines will finish what he can. Get rid of David for good.
Wow. It's almost Shakespearean, isn't it? Jealousy, betrayal, all these schemes.
And the irony is, Saul's so blind by his own insecurities that he can't see what makes David great. His loyalty, his courage. Those are the traits of a true leader.
So what happens? Does David fall into the trap?
David, being David, handles it all incredibly well. Not only does he survive those missions, he exceeds expectations every time. Comes back victorious, which just makes things worse with Saul.
It's kind of tragic when you think about it. This king, chosen by God, and he loses his way. All because of jealousy, because of fear.
It's a story that stayed with us for a reason, don't you think? It's about the kind of struggles we all face, how power works, the choices we make when things get tough.
It does make you think. We remember David for facing Goliath, for becoming king, but it's his strength, his faith, the way he handles all the human drama. That's what makes him so interesting.
Exactly. It's a challenge to look deeper, to think about what motivates people, especially those in power, and to understand what leadership really is, not just on a battlefield, but in our own lives.
Such a powerful message. Well, that's about all the time we have for this deep dive into the story of David and Goliath. Thanks for joining us as we explored this incredible story. It's a story that still has something to teach us every time we hear it. Until next time, keep asking questions and keep searching for those deeper meanings in the stories we think we know.
Welcome to Charlie and Mia's podcast. We're embarking on an exciting journey to read through the entire Bible in just 1 year. Every day, we dive into Scripture, exploring its meanings and how it applies to our lives today. We invite you to join us on this incredible adventure of learning and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode.